Uh, it was just a program where they shot supposedly had satellites that could shoot down missiles from space, but apparently it was never functional, never proven to be effective. They spent billions and billions of dollars on it, and all these scientists dying. The big theory was that these guys knew too much and they knew that it was horseshit, and so they had to kill them off before they talked. I wouldn't put it past them. You get the CIA involved, and if you ever read like Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and you find out the shit that our government does to other countries, they'd kill scientists. They'd kill anybody. They don't give a fuck. The same people that wanted us to go to war in Iraq and were willing to lie about weapons of mass destruction. Everybody's going on and on about September 11th. Like, do you really think the government would allow innocent people to die during September 11th so they could go to war? I don't know, but do you really think they believed there was weapons of mass destruction? Do you really think that we're over in Iraq and Afghanistan for good reasons that benefit you and I? No, and millions of people have died because of that. At least 1 million Iraqi civilians have died because of that. And so if they're willing to do that, you don't think they're willing to kill a few thousand here and there?
Right.
Of course they are. And forget about the few thousand that died during 9/11. The 1 million people that died in Iraq are human beings. They're just as legitimate as the people that died in the Twin Towers. I mean, it's all completely ridiculous. Someone says, can we change topic to something fun? String together something nutty like that.
People that like to write in cursive.
Is that it?
Like, this is going to be the best cursive writing I've ever seen.
Right. Like manuscripts. They used to write it on pages. They didn't have lines in the paper. They just had paper.
Right.
And they would write it exactly. Have you ever heard of the Voynich manuscript? The Voynich manuscript, I don't know if I'm saying it right, is this ancient manuscript that was found. It's hundreds of years old, and they have no fucking idea what it says. They don't know the language.
Oh, really?
They don't know anything about it. They don't know if it's just nonsense, if some guy was just practicing scribble. But it's like really long, and there's consistency and how it's written, but they can't decode it. They've had like top encryption experts, and it's very divided. Like some people believe it's a hoax. And some people believe that it's some fucking lost language. And some people think that it's glossolalia, like when someone talks in tongues, and that they just went into a fucking trance.
Oh, just some retard with a pen.
No, because it's got really good writing. It's got diagrams in it, and really good illustrations rather, and diagrams in it. And it's like
that's weird.
Yeah, it's really complicated. Yeah, I just think. It's so easy to be a retard these days because there's so many other people that you join with. Did you ever see the video? I think the guy was a comic who interviewed these people waiting to see Sarah Palin at a book signing. There was like a whole fucking giant line of people, and it's like 3 degrees outside. They're freezing their ass off, and they're waiting for hours to come in and meet Sarah Palin. And so this dude goes and interviews them and asks them questions. What do you like about Miss Palin's policies? It's all the same nonsense. Nobody has a clue. But in all fairness, I've seen the same thing with Obama. When they've interviewed people they got no idea. Obama, they just know he's black and he's talking really good and he's good.
Who did the thing? I think it was Baba Booey or Stuttering John or something. So it might have been Stern or it might have been Leno. But they went, or it might have been someone else completely. But they went downtown and asked about what do you think about Obama? What do you think of his running mate Sarah Palin? People are like, I think she's great. I think she's great. Like, are you a Democrat or Republican? They're like Republican. And they're like, what about Joe Biden.
It's been like that forever. I watched that Gonzo, that
People
documentary on Hunter S. Thompson,
Yeah.
and back in the 1970s when he was writing Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail, it was the same thing. They were asking all these different people, like, who are you voting for? And no one had a fucking clue
Yeah,
who
why?
anybody
Exactly.
was. Or, no, not that guy. That guy? No, not that guy. And I was like, who the fuck are you voting for? And that guy's vote counts just as much
absolutely.
as
just
a
as
Rhodes
much.
Scholar.
Yeah, they're like, Obama, so he wants to go to war with Iraq more. How do you feel about that? And like, well, I'm for it.
What do you think that Obama has any say, or do you think it's all horseshit? What do you think literally happens when you win? Do you think that you've been briefed before you ever win as to this is what's going to happen? You're going to be given an agenda. You're going to be asked to follow certain protocol. You will consult with these people before any decision, before any press conference. It will be reviewed.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think there's some of that, but I think they're also just met with checks and balances. It's way harder to get things done than you think.
Right.
And you have to make allegiances, and you have to give certain things in order to get
definitely. It's a scary thing, man. They fired something called Hellfire missiles.
Yeah.
Imagine that's what they named them, Hellfire. Jesus Christ. Not like freedom maker or something like that, you know?
Just
not
pure
like,
death.
Yeah.
Death with a bad afterlife.
Yeah, not like the strong arm of peace. No.
Coming from below.
Hellfire
to claim
missiles.
you.
Motherfucker. Hellfire? That doesn't make you feel good. The whole idea of the whole war is so crazy. What's really crazy is that the CIA had the president of Afghanistan's brother on his fucking payroll.
Really?
Yeah, and this guy is like deep in the poppy business. The CIA was paying him. It was just recently revealed. The CIA has been paying him for a long time. He was on the CIA fucking payroll. He's the brother of the president in Afghanistan, and he's in the poppy business.
Wow.
I mean, the whole thing is crazy. That's 90-something% of the world's heroin all comes from Afghanistan. 90-something%. Garen fucking T'd some evil motherfucker in some high, lofty position. You know, I don't want to name the organization because who the fuck knows who's really bringing it in. I mean, if it even has a name. But those guys are profiting off that shit.
Making money off it. Distributors.
For sure. It's been proven many, many times. You know, there's a plane that the CIA had, and we talked about this before on the show, where this plane had crashed in Mexico with 4 tons of cocaine in it. And it was a jet that had been to Guantanamo Bay twice. It was a CIA jet. This fucking jet had been to Guantanamo Bay on 2 separate occasions, and this fucking thing was flying cocaine into the United States and crashed in Mexico. 4 tons of coke, man. It's about if you want to look any of this stuff online, look up that plane that crashed. Then look up the story of Barry Seals. Barry Seals was a guy who was a drug runner who would fly drugs in from South America to the United States and drop them off in Mena, Arkansas, in a little plane, and he would drop a parachute. Well, these 2 kids saw the drop off one day, and they caught the kids because they didn't want the kids telling. They killed them. And their parents found out that it was a murder because the cops had said that they found these kids on the train tracks. Apparently, they placed their bodies on the train tracks.
Run over.
And they said, oh, they got stoned and they laid out on the train tracks. And the parents did autopsies, had autopsies done. And they found knife wounds. The kids had been stabbed. So they stabbed these kids and killed them. And then they laid them on the tracks. And so then it became this gigantic investigation. Who was flying, blah, blah, blah. They get a hold of this guy, Barry Seals, and Barry Seals is totally spills the beans. Tells the whole story, all the different shit that he did. He's ready to testify. Goes to court, and they fucking assassinate him literally on his way to court. Oh, no. So this dude's on his way to court. He's got George Bush's phone number in his pocket at the time. And he gets murdered in his car on the way to talk about it. Wow. I mean, and this was a guy that was an employee of the CIA. And there's not just those. There's a bunch of them. Michael Rupert is a guy who wrote a book about it. He was an LAPD detective. Something in LAPD. I don't know what he was. But he busted the CIA selling drugs. And he's like, and he was told to back off the case. And he's like, this is fucking insane. And he's written books about it. He's got this website fromthewilderness.com, I believe it is. You know, and it's all detailing all the different corruption and they're doing it right in front of everybody's fucking face. That's the crazy thing. I mean, think about how much goddamn cocaine is in this country. It's not all coming in because of retarded criminals. Because most people that are smuggling cocaine...
So like huge organizations and stuff? That's what you're saying?
It's the government. The government has something to do with it, for sure. Someone in some aspect. Why wouldn't they? If these people want to do drugs, you know, what the fuck? Who's making money off the drugs? They probably feel like, look, the bad guy's going to make money off the drugs anyway. Let's just cut them out. We'll take the money. Fuck it. Drugs they're going to be out there no matter what you do. And it's all like a nice little cycle because the more people get arrested for those drugs, the more these private prison companies, the companies that own these gigantic prisons, the more they're happy because more people are in their prisons, and the more people that are in private prisons, the more profit they make. So they support all this shit. So they actually support drugs being illegal. They want them to be illegal. Mm-hmm. They push for it. It's fucking crazy. The whole big package is fucking crazy. And the idea that the government is behind it all, that there's evidence of it, just makes the whole thing mind-blowing. It's just so nuts. The fact that the DEA, you know, is like in cahoots with the CIA, and it's all like a big game at the very top. It's all horseshit. It's all just profit and money. How much fucking money must they be making? There must be so much money in drugs.
Who gets the money?
I don't know. That's the good question, right? That's a good question. How many people are involved, and where does it go? I mean, if someone in the CIA, someone in the organization really is selling drugs, is it just every now and then a rogue agent goes fucking nutty and cuts some deal with some fucking drug smuggling killer? Or is it all the time? Do you think it's all the time?
If that's how it gets in the country. Well, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, how many times has it happened, though? I mean, how much cocaine do we have already here? How long does cocaine last? You know, if you bring in a whole gigantic ship full of it, Where would you keep it? How long does it take to get it on the street? Someone's bringing it in. It's not these morons. It's not. They'd be getting busted left and right. People that are so crazy that they're willing to do something that insane, like smuggle $1 million worth of cocaine into the country, those people are crazy. Those people get busted doing shit. That's not like a rational person.
I think they option that part out. Like they hire somebody to transport it.
The more people you hire, the more people are going to kill you.
Yeah.
The more people you hire, the worse your idea is. Because the more people that can get busted and wear a wire and put you in jail, it's very dangerous. The smart move to do, if you're doing something like that, is to hire as few people as possible.
Take your own ship over somewhere. You have to. Yeah, you'll do it.
That might be the way to do it. Might be the way to do it. You might have to bring your.
Certain year, there's probably way more, but they came to the conclusion that 95% of the reported cases can be explained away with that, like military, all this high-ranking military, or this top-secret military planes and different lights. But they said 5% most likely are aircraft from other worlds.
Well, I don't know why they can say aircraft from other worlds, because I don't necessarily think we have
it's more likely
a perfect inventory of what exists in this world.
No, but they're saying that that's probably what that is more likely. It's some extraterrestrial craft than there's 5% of the
just
evidence.
Because it's not from our government or the Russian government doesn't necessarily mean even it's from another planet. We don't know what the fuck is in the ocean.
Well, that's
sounds
true.
ridiculous.
No,
but
totally.
A lot of UFOs get sighted.
Yeah, they're called USOs.
Coming out of the there was a whole History Channel documentary about that, and people go, "Well, that's ridiculous. That's nonsense. That's silly." It's silly that you could send a fucking picture, that you could take this fucking thing and send a video across the sky into somebody else's phone in Australia. That's way more silly than some people from another planet have visited here, or that there's something living in the ocean.
Especially when you have guys like ex-Pentagon high-ranking officials like Philip Corso, who before he died, he wrote a book and he explained his job in the government, in the Pentagon, was taking crashed UFO stuff, taking it to Hughes Aircraft and Lockheed and all these different aerospace companies to reverse engineer it. He's saying, he was like, there's many interviews on YouTube with Philip Corso. He's dead now. He was on Dateline, and they try to like ridicule him, but how do you...
J. Allen Hynek, too, is another excellent example of that. J. Allen Hynek was the guy who was in charge of Project Blue Book, and he was told by the government when they had this thing to explain away everything. Swamp gas, mass hysteria, anything they could do to explain away UFO cases. But as he became more involved in Project Blue Book, and as he investigated more and more sightings and dealt with more and more evidence, he became absolutely convinced that UFOs were real. So J. Allen Hynek, who is, like a guy actually working to discredit UFOs, eventually came out and started supporting the whole UFO movement. So I think it's not ridiculous to think that we've been visited. I mean, we go to the Congo all the time and stare at chimpanzees. I mean, if you were from another planet and you had the ability to travel here, why wouldn't you check out people? People are fucking completely ridiculous. They're probably fascinating.